Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another edition of Let's Talk 1943, the Business Spotlight Edition. And we have another special guest. We are blessed to have Kristine Scott. And I'm telling you, I went through her bio. This is going to be a good one. We got a lot to talk about. So, as I always say, are you ready? Let's talk. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. So let me do a formal introduction to Kristine Scott. She is a specialist in conflict resolution. So she helps people kind of deal with it and the steps to take to handle it better. So she had, and we're going to start this off. I'm going to dive right in, okay? So before I
Perfect.
do that, let me just welcome you. Thank you so much for coming on this platform. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem, no problem. So, if you don't mind me kind of starting with your bio, I went through and she actually had started with AmeriCorps, and it was a job she took, and she was in charge of unhousing teens, feeding them, correct? And
Correct.
so you went there, 50 kids showed up, and then you had things after each other happening. You know, your purse was missing, people were screaming and howling, people were just unruly, and this is you walking into this job, right? So, kind of take us through that night, real quick, because I have so much I want to ask you. So, let's go through that real quick on what happened that night.
Okay, yeah. AmeriCorps was paying me $975 a month to do this public service kind of a job.
Hmm.
And, I had some ideas that I was going to be Susie social worker from the suburbs. I was going to come
Hmm.
in and I was going to help these young lives. But my first night at Teen Feed, oh my goodness. There was a 14-year-old who had a big old mouth on her. She was starting fights everywhere she went. My food volunteers were hiding behind the table. That it was that scary. and and I was about 10 minutes into this night and I just said, "You know what? This is not enough money for the type of grief I'm putting up with here." And I was frightened, I was from a small town. I had no idea what I was up against. And all of a sudden this big voice boomed out over the audience or the crowd. He just said, "Hey, little bean, knock it off. You're messing it up for the whole burrito." And everything got quiet and everybody got manners. And this whole room just completely changed in that instant. And that's when I said, "Oh, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to quit my job. I'm really curious about these young people. How do they have this accountability towards each other?"
Hmm.
So
Wow.
I actually showed up the next day.
And then you said somebody took your purse. So did somebody like swipe it and you never seen
Hmm.
it again?
Nope, nope. I later got my wallet without the cash in the mail.
I was saying nothing's in
Somebody,
it.
yeah, yeah. But my
So they give
AD
you,
and yeah, so my ID and my debit card came back to me. But yeah, my money was gone.
and and I'm like, I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, and I believe that those type of situations are for you to grow
Hmm.
and for you to realize your purpose is bigger than yourself, and it took
Hmm.
you out your comfort zone and stretched you.
Completely, completely. And it put me on my butt enough for me to listen to God and say, "Oh, I thought I came here to teach these young people something, but maybe I'm here to learn from them."
Yep, yep, that's it. That's it.
Hmm.
You bring your skill set, but it's for you. Sometimes he put you in a situation that looked like you supposed to be the savior, but he put you there because he needed you to grow to do something else. But he knew you
Hmm.
couldn't get there until you did this because
Yep,
you wouldn't be able to have the right set to go somewhere else and do this, right?
exactly.
Because imagine if you didn't go through that and then did what you was doing now, you
Yeah,
wouldn't have
there's
to
no
understand.
way. There's no way. I hated conflict. Conflict scared the bejesus out of me.
Wow, wow. And so from this night, you went back and then you started getting love for dealing with conflict. Because first
Yeah.
night you were scared, the employees were hiding behind desks. So now, how did you get your employees to get from behind that desk and get them to, work with you after you kind of got that aha moment?
It took me years, honestly, because
Mhm,
I had to work through my fear about conflict. And this is what
mhm,
happens to us. We go either too big or too small. Our
mhm,
body gets overwhelmed. floods us with all these chemicals, and then we get like really like a wet noodle, or we get super aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I kept on screwing up and doing that. And finally, I stopped doing what I was doing, stopped listening to my biology, and started watching young people because their lives had much more conflict and much more threat than mine did.
Mm-hmm.
They're living
Yeah.
outside, so they're dealing with stuff that's much more real. And I watched them handle it without getting nearly as freaked out as I was. And so I thought, I think I need to keep on listening and learning.
Yeah. I think with us, getting older is a beautiful thing. We do gain wisdom in most cases when we learn through our mistakes, but it does
Mm-hmm.
give a downside. We get complacent if we get to a certain point in life that life is a little more easier. We don't have to really, work through stuff. We kind of get what we
Mm-hmm.
want, and then we kind of forget where we came from when it comes to stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
younger people don't have the wisdom, but they have risk takers because they think they
Mm-hmm.
superwoman, superman. They don't think that nothing can happen to them, so they go, "Why not try?" Hey, you know what? We think so
Mm-hmm.
hard and we talk ourselves out of stuff so much. So when it comes to the conflict portion of this, you have a conflict with someone. Walk me through the steps of handling a typical conflict situation.
Yeah, so the first step is de-escalating yourself so that you're not having that mammal kind of response mode where you're getting
Mhm,
too aggressive or you're getting too passive.
mhm,
Our biology tells us to do that, but we have a choice whether or not to listen to our biology.
mhm,
So I started training all of those staff and volunteers how to hack that biology and not go into that fight, flight, freeze mode that is so common.
mhm,
Um, the other thing we have to do is we have to be more aware of our emotions. A lot of people have big emotions and won't even admit that we're having them,
mhm.
right?
Yes.
So, so we have to like go, oh, okay, I'm feeling really fearful right now. It's probably not the best time for me, to talk to my sister-in-law about how she better not bring that potato salad that is going to be a controversy. Right? So we have to like learn what is my skill right now. It's just like
Mhm,
CPR first aid. We cannot enter the scene if it's not safe. So if we're feeling all that overwhelmed, we can't step into the conflict. You got to take
mhm,
care of yourself, be kind to yourself first. You can't have big emotions, you can't have that mammal thing going on. And you
mhm,
have to be really clear about what is it that I want from this conversation? What is it that I want to move this relationship forward? If
mhm,
we're there to win and I just need them to learn blah 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 and understand my agenda, that is not going to be resolved. That is not that is not conflict resolution. Conflict resolution is how can I increase trust with this person and how can I make sure that whatever it is that's happened between us isn't going to happen again. I get to have a boundary without having to like rub their nose in it.
So that's a balancing act right there. What you just
Mm-hmm.
said is a balancing act because you have to you want to get your point across of how the person making you feel or how the person's not, whatever the situation is that you're not pleasant
Mm-hmm.
with them with. So you balancing
Mm-hmm.
that because you got to get that across. But yet you're doing it in a way that you don't want the defenses to go up because when you come at
Yep.
people a certain way, they
Oh
build this
yeah.
wall
They
quick
build
and
that
then they
wall.
get
Yep.
popping back at you. And now we forgot why we're here.
Yep. And here's a trick to that. If I just said to you, wow, Regina, I could hear you so much better when I'm not getting yelled at. I just have a problem with getting yelled at.
Mhm,
It's about me now. I'm talking about my boundary, about my
mhm,
weakness or whatever you want to call it, that I don't
mhm,
like people yelling.
mhm.
I'm not saying that you're doing anything wrong.
That's
And
true.
and so that's that balance that you're talking about. Like how can I set a boundary without calling them bad or calling them wrong?
Right. I mean, and it's a situation that is it's not a wrong or a right, but yet we come at it as a wrong and a right because we
Yes.
feel what we're saying is right and what you're doing or saying is wrong, right? But it's
Yeah, we
technically,
gotta we gotta take that out of the equation.
yeah.
It's okay to feel like something's hurt you and that you don't like that it went down that way without
Mhm.
trying to make them wrong. You know,
Hmm.
that's how a lot of us were parented, you know, right and wrong, and you screwed up, and somebody's to blame.
So true.
That that does not work when you're trying to resolve tension with another human.
That is so true. It's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
learned behavior is how we handle things, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the anger, I would say for me, I'm very passionate. And if I love you, I'm coming out of love, but I'm firm because I need you to understand that I'm serious, or
Mm-hmm.
this situation is a serious situation. But it's kind of like you could do it in a loving way. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned a couple of things, and I want you to teach me more because this is your expertise. But I did learn, a couple of things is like kind of write everything out when you have a conversation, so you don't get too caught up in the emotion, and you kind of can stay on course of what you need to talk about, because a lot of times when you talk about something that's kind of touchy, you start going these subtitles and before you know it, you're
Mm-hmm.
all the way over there, and you go, okay,
Yep.
what are we talking about? And they're like, oh, I forgot that mention this and that. So what do
Yep.
you think about that?
You're so right. Like write those things down and keep it very simple. And when they want to deflect or get super emotional or look like they are kind of hijacking the conversation, just know that that's part of a normal defense system, right? Like
Oh.
I'm a little uncomfortable. This person's asking for a change, and I don't know that I want to make that change, right?
Hmm.
It's okay.
Hmm.
Just like, yeah, I really appreciate that we're going to both reach towards this thing that our relationship needs to have a healthy and bright future. You know,
Hmm.
like that you are assuming that they want that too. And but you're very clear that for our relationship to have a healthy and bright future, that behavior is not going to work for you.
And you know what? That was just the best way of saying that. The whole premise of this conversation is I want us to thrive, and I want us to grow, and for us to
Mhm.
be there, we have to have this conversation because it's going to be problem if we don't. And I
Mhm.
love you, and I want this to get resolved because
Mhm.
I don't see you without you in my life, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So when it comes
Exactly.
out like that, it comes out like, okay, let me listen, because if that's what you feel like, I don't want that to happen. So let me listen to
Mhm.
you, and then maybe we could do a better.
Mhm.
So that's a good entrance. That's a good subway to go into a conversation, to say,
Exactly.
this is what the problem is, and this is the goal of this conversation.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
like
Exactly. Exactly. It's about connection. If
it's
I
about
can't deepen if I can't deepen my connection with you because we haven't resolved this thing, then it's just going to keep on being an issue. It's going to be a block and a barrier between us. I don't want that.
and sometimes the other person don't even know this is happening.
Mhm.
A lot of
Yeah.
it is basically, I think that's mostly everybody conflict. The other person
Mhm.
doesn't know what's happening because you're not
Mhm.
expressing it. So
Yep.
you can't go in upset, because
Yep.
how you upset with someone, they don't know what's happening. You can't, you're upset because you angry at yourself for allowing it to happen that long.
Ooh, you nailed it. You are exactly right. You know,
Hmm.
I got in the habit. I was running a shelter for many years, and I got in the
Hmm.
habit of every time I thought somebody was mad at me
Hmm.
or just kind of poopy in my direction, I got in the habit of leaning in and asking them, "Hey, what's going on?" Blah 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 blah. 90% of the time, they weren't mean mugging me because of anything I did, anything I said. It wasn't even about me. They were just having a bad day, and I was reading into it and making it all about me.
Ooh.
Normally, when we ask, all of our insecurities are not proven correct. Right? We're the ones walking around with that great big old like kind of difference between how we fear we are and how we
Hmm.
really are.
Hmm. You are so right, Christine. Let me tell you, I read the four agreements,
Mm,
and that's one of the agreements. Do not assume.
yep.
Do not assume. We assume everything. I didn't realize how much I
Mhm.
did it until I read the book, and I was like, almost like 80% of my life is assumption. Like really,
Mhm.
because you taking a situation, and you didn't ask the person what the problem was. And like you said, it could have been like, oh, the dog ripped up my shoe this morning, and it just I'm sorry. You like, oh, I thought you was mad at me. No, why would I be mad at you? You ain't did nothing to me to be mad. So when
Mhm.
you do that, that's telling on yourself that your insecurities are popping up because you're thinking and my insecure. Well, I had insecurities. I'm working on it. Like I think it's always a lifelong thing you work on.
Mhm.
A people pleaser, and I am, I'm in that person that always wanted to make sure everybody liked me. So I stayed in that mode, not want to rock the boat with no one because I
Mhm.
didn't want them to get mad at me because if you did that, I didn't know who I was. So if I didn't know who I was, I got to live it through you and you got to like me, even though I didn't like myself.
Mhm.
If I lost that, I don't know what's going on here because I don't know that for me. See what I'm saying? So
Oh,
this is
you are so smart. You got this down. Yes.
oh my gosh. This
Yep.
is so, and this is majority of people walking this earth is like this.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. And we're expecting this other human to be our mirror that we're somehow okay, and we haven't done that for ourselves.
Miss Scott, man, you hit it. That's exactly what it is. We want people to do it for ourselves. That's why we do that. Like, oh, what's wrong? And,
Mhm.
this and that and this and that. Because either we want to be that savior or we want to clear to say,
Mhm.
it's not me,
Mhm.
right? I didn't do nothing to you. So what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? I'm not even mad at you. Well, you looked at me, rolled your eyes, and like I did not roll my eyes at you. You had nothing to do with this. So
Mhm.
what do you call when people make it about themselves? What's the word you want to use for that? Is that like entitlement?
I think it depends on the situation. I know when I'm having a bad day, everything's about me. Right? And I think you said it best on one of your other podcasts is like you judging other people is just a reflection of you judging yourself.
There
When
you go.
you're
That's
not
what I said.
feeling when you're not feeling good about yourself, everybody else sucks too. It just kind of goes together.
But you make that a lifestyle. That's a lifestyle. Like you know how people you always say, "Oh, he just grumpy. Oh, she just mean." Like, and they go through life
Mhm.
mean and nasty, or just always finding something wrong. Like always something. I
Mhm.
don't like this. I don't. It's because you don't like you.
Mhm.
And when you don't like
Exactly.
you can't like other things because you gotta love you first. And when you don't, it reflects outward and it goes into
Mhm.
like they call it in the book black magic in the four agreements.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
spew out black magic everywhere and it's contagious.
Yeah.
Because just like you said, going back to your first night, right? If you did exactly what your body told you to do that night, you would not be where you at this moment. Like you would
Right.
not be
Right.
there because your first reaction would be like, I don't need this. First of all, you're not paying me enough for this. Second of all, I think
Mhm.
my life is in danger.
Mhm.
Third of
Yep.
all, they stole my money.
Yep.
Why would
Yep.
I want to come back here? You know what I'm saying? It
Mhm.
was like,
Mhm.
why? So
Yep.
you had to listen. You already had it in you already because if you didn't, you would have not came back. So you just have to
Well, yeah. I
you
think it
had
was
to
just
try to
it was
cultivate it, but you
yeah.
had it.
Yeah. And it was just curiosity because I was so wrong about those young people. I had all of my biases and stereotypes about them running. There are people with piercings and tattoos and mohawks and blah blah blah, stuff I had never seen before.
Hmm.
And with that young man who I found out later was a street dad, with what he said and how the whole room changed, I realized, wait, there's something going on to this community that I didn't recognize, that I don't know anything about. That would have never worked at my high school growing up.
Hmm.
Here these folks are between the ages of 13 and 20. And to have
Hmm.
that level of accountability to each other, oh my gosh, I had never seen that before.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it
But
was my curiosity.
well, another thing when you just said that how they were acting, because first of all, that's all defense mechanisms in there.
Mm-hmm.
All those kids been hurt over and over and over. They've been promised over and over and over. So when you come in there, yeah, you look like but I've seen this before. You're gonna come in here, you're gonna see. So let me help you get out of here quicker. So let me act up so you can go ahead on and let's get to the next
Mm-hmm.
point because you're not gonna stay. I don't want to get
Mm-hmm.
attached because I know you're gonna eventually leave. So let me go
Yep.
ahead and speed up the process and do
Yep.
all this stuff to get you out of here. That's
Yep.
what most people do because they scared. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's
Yep,
up
you
to.
are exactly right. That's what I noticed
Mhm,
as I started to get to know street culture better. I would
mhm,
have volunteers come up to me and say, "Wow, this is my second month, and I'm noticing everybody's flipping me a lot more crap. Like, what is going on?" I said, "Oh, they're just testing you. You have displayed
mhm,
something that they're curious and interested in getting to know, and they want to make sure you're legit, that you're going to stick around. So
mhm,
you're kind of getting socially hazed right now by the street
mhm.
community."
Oh yeah, yeah. They're gonna, yeah, because they need to. They want to build trust with you. And see, and that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing. If you're not ready to take on this responsibility, don't, because what happens is if they do get attached to you, you just the next person is gonna hurt them, and then another
Yeah.
other person behind them gonna have to even deal with way more because of
Mm-hmm.
what you said you're gonna do. You didn't do it. So
Right,
I
right.
toodle you for you going back and for you to look past you because it was bigger than you. It's so
Mm-hmm.
much bigger than you, and you saw that it had nothing to do with you, and you stepped out of your own way to make this happen. And look, all these years later, and these kids are grown now.
Oh yeah, yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm still in touch with that young man who was a street dad. His name was Little Bear, and
Oh,
his life has moved on and done like wonderful things. Just um, I learned so much from those young people.
and
Yeah.
that's beautiful. I love to hear that. And we all
Mm-hmm.
can learn from each other in general. Just youth or even just us as adults. We could learn a lot from each other. We just, like you said, the steps you gave. If you just kind of go, okay, my ultimate goal is this. This is what I want out of this. So let me handle it like this, so could get some, we could get some productivity out of this. So we won't,
Mm-hmm.
like you got to talk
Mm-hmm.
yourself. You got to, because it's
Yep.
like something you have to learn.
Right.
You got to
Right.
talk to yourself.
Yep. And like you were saying, Regina, about that piece of paper, write down on that paper, what is my non-negotiable? What is the thing
Mm,
that I cannot be okay with? It crosses a boundary for me. And it's not about that person, it's about anybody doing that behavior.
mhm.
You can love the person and not like the behavior. Those are two separate things.
That's true. And that's the conflict that you have with people, because you don't want to end it because you love the person,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't love the way they doing things or the way they acting. But then you have to kind of make a decision, don't you? If that's one of your deal breakers, like I
Yep.
love you, but I gotta love you from like all the way over there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
Mm-hmm.
deal with you daily. I can't do the daily thing with you no more. I don't hate you. I'm so, in my healing process. I'm so far of that. I will never hate anybody. I never
Mm-hmm.
did anyway. I never even used that word. My parents always was like, you don't hate people. You don't, you may don't like them. You may leave them alone. But you got to make that decision. Is it worth the homework to deal with someone who
Mm-hmm.
probably need to learn how to deal with themselves, and they putting it on you to deal with them?
Yep. Yep.
It makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
This is so beautiful. I love this conversation. Conflict. And it's so hard. It's so hard.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause when you deal with someone, it's like when I deal with conflict, I'm getting better at it, but I get like my heart race.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
feel like, oh my gosh, like after the conversation starts, for a minute, I'm okay. But that initial saying, hey, I need to talk to
Mm-hmm.
you. That part, because it's going to change the whole mood. Because if you talk to someone and they're like, hey, da, 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 you're like, okay, hey, yeah, cool. I need to talk to you. And then it's like the mood go, okay, what's going on? What's wrong? And then,
It
you
gets
start to feel
serious.
like you're
Yes.
one bad person.
Yeah. 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 And it's okay to say, we have this great connection going, and this is just my opportunity to like kind of invest in that connection a little bit deeper. Are you with me?
Mm.
Right?
Oh,
When you say something like that, people are like, "Oh, okay." So it's serious, but it's not like heavy, hopefully. It's more like this is just, this is a little fine tuning.
I like how you lean
And
in, though. You just leaned in on that one.
mhm.
You said, are you with
Mhm.
me? You leaned in.
Mhm.
I
Yep.
saw that.
Yep.
That's welcoming.
Yeah.
That's a good tool to say,
Mhm.
hey, I think we got a little tweaking to do. I love you, and I just want to kind of talk about some things to better our relationship. because I just want us to be the best that we can be, and then
Mm-hmm.
go in. I
Yeah.
like that. See,
Yeah.
yes, I just learned what to do. Perfect. Then
That's
everybody watching.
right.
Look, everybody watching. Like when I say, "Hey," like, "Oh, she gonna use that." I saw it on the show.
Watch out. Watch out.
Hey, I love you.
Are there any specific situations you want us to untangle?
Well, part of it is dealing with that opening
Mm.
of like getting into that conversation. Another part is, you know, in the midst of I've been through a lot of transformation in the last 3 years, and I'm keep
Mhm.
evolving. But in this process, it was hard for me because I was a people pleaser. So when you're a people pleaser, it's hard to let go of people
Yeah.
the way I need to,
Yeah.
and I know it's holding me back from being the person I need to be.
Mhm.
Because I am learning to deal with, like, I'm meeting new people, I'm meeting more like-minded people, I'm getting into different circles now, and then when I'm there I feel so like, oh, this is amazing, because the
Yeah.
people have the same mindset as me and being like on the grind and giving back. I have a nonprofit, so like I'm making it bigger than me.
Mhm.
When I
Mhm.
started out, it was more about me,
Mhm.
and now it's being like I'm getting, like, I know my assignment. It's
Yep.
not about me, and
Yep.
I got to do stuff. But in the interim of that, I have um open ends I need to close up,
Mhm.
and I need to
Mhm.
do it not the cowardly way. I need to talk,
Yeah.
and I need to express, because these same people will do it to me with no problem.
Mhm.
But it's
Mhm.
me that have the problem doing it with them because of my issues being a people pleaser.
Mhm.
So that's my thing.
Yep.
I have conflicts with several people, and it's not their fault. I
Right.
allowed it to happen. I built the
Yep.
monster, but I
Yep.
have to let you know that no longer I could do it no more.
Yep.
So
And
that's
you sound really clear. So that would be a beautiful thing for them to hear. And that is how I engaged in our relationship in the past was
mm-hmm,
about getting my needs met to please you. My needs met to be needed and to be wanted by you.
mm-hmm,
And now that I've grown out of that, I'm just kind of struggling about what's next for us because I have changed who I am. But I don't want to lose this connection. Or maybe the truth is that you want to shift the connection,
mm-hmm,
but you're going to invite them into a conversation of what that would look like,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to having a foregone conclusion like, oh, it means that I can't have this person in my life. You kind of want to hear from them first, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because I never had those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, the way I handle things is kind of like just either I'll talk to my best friend about it, or I'll pray about it, or something like that. But I never really dealt with the person the way I should. I did. I am getting better. Like, I'm starting to be able to. But see, I'm at a point now. I got to do it sooner than later, because I'm gonna start building up this. What do you call it? Not anger. What's the word I want?
Resentment.
Thank you.
Resentment. Mm-hmm.
Resentment, when
Yeah.
it's really not their fault.
Mm-mm.
But
You're so
I'm
smart.
mad at me for allowing it.
Yeah.
So when you wake up, you know how you
Mm-hmm.
get that awakening.
Yep.
When you get that awakening, you look around saying, "I was an idiot all these daggone years. Like, I allowed this to happen to me, and it's not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
They're only able to do what you allow them to do." So,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm mad at myself for not realizing it sooner. But I understand God's plan, and a lot of times His plan is going to be divine ordered, and you can't
Mm-hmm.
be mad about it. It is what it
Yep.
is. It happened the way it's
Yep.
supposed to happen, and I am where I'm at, where I'm supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be now.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
the flesh of me is kind of like, duh, 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 duh. Like, why did I allow this to happen all these years? Like, duh, I could have been so further along. I could have been this, I could have been that.
Mm-mm-mm.
But now I realize I'm where I need to be. But I do got
Exactly.
to handle that, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like
And
you said it perfectly. I'm going to watch that. You said it perfectly. It's
mm-hmm.
not you, it's me. But now, because I'm in another spot, where do we go from here? Because you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to accept the new me.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
don't.
Yep.
You don't have to accept the new me. And I'm okay with that because
Mhm.
I gave you a person that wasn't really me.
That's right.
I got to deal with the consequences of that.
Mhm. And hopefully you've done some of your own work kind of processing how you feel about that, and you don't expect them to carry that water for you, right?
Mhm.
That you walk in like already having grieved that you spent some time on the wrong path. And I
Mhm.
just gotta say, that's really normal for us. You know, we spend our 20s and 30s doing what other people have socialized us to do. We spend our
Mhm.
40s waking up from that myth and kind of going, wait a minute, none of that crap was me. And
Yes.
hopefully by the time we're in our 50s, you know, our young 50s, we get to make the second half of our lives amazing.
And with my nonprofit, my Pam Foundation Inc., is exactly what you said. I
Mhm.
want to get to people before 50
Mhm.
years old. I
Yep.
want to get to the teens and the young adults in the 30s. I want to help you before. So maybe God has me putting seeds in y'all now so y'all could be more awakened quicker than it took
Mm.
me to get here.
Mhm.
Because if I could give you this stuff that I wish somebody gave me, I would have been further along sooner.
Right.
But I knew I had to be where I'm at. But maybe I'm that person for you. Maybe I'm that vessel to plant the seed so you could see this
Mhm.
sooner and at least have a better start than I
Yep.
did.
Yep. That's so true. I think about all of the crappy messages I got about being female, for example. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, if I could not surgically implant that in my daughter, how great would that be?
Exactly, exactly. I told my kids, I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. It would have been a couple years earlier, but hey, you got it now." And
Mhm.
I tell them, I said, "Listen, this is what I did because my son, one of my twins, is just like me.
Mm,
He takes on everybody's stuff. He
mm,
keeps it in, and he feels that he got to save everyone. He has
mhm.
that. It's honestly from me. And I keep
Yep,
telling him, like, you don't have to save the world. You just got to,
yep,
you can't put other people's problems on you. If that's what they're going through, you
yep,
be a support system, but that's not your responsibility. It's a thin line. You're too young for that. You're
yeah,
18. You're too young to take on all of that. You need to
yeah.
direct them to a helpline or counselor, and
Mhm,
you be there. And
mhm.
we know why they're going to the counselor, but you're not the counselor. That's a whole nother ball of wax.
That's right. That's
Yes,
right.
yeah. So I get you. This is
Mhm.
wonderful. I'm so happy you joined us today. I'm so,
Yeah,
so happy
thank
you
you.
joined us today. We're going to have to put you on one of my live shows and really get some people on and we could really, really talk because this is needed. This is so
Mhm,
needed. And there's a lot of people I
mhm.
know that do not know how to handle situations and they take it and they get real nasty and mean and
Yep,
that's why you see all these fights everywhere. Why
yep.
everybody fighting? Because they don't know how
Mhm.
to solve their conflicts.
Right, right. And you know, your woman who screened me, Julie,
Hmm.
super, super smart. What she said, I wrote it down. It was so brilliant. And she said, "We are not as divided from each other as we are disconnected."
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm.
We just disconnected.
Yep.
We just disconnected, and that is solved by conversation. That's just solved with a conversation. We don't, like you said, the assumption is the biggest thing. If we stop assuming what people are going to say or how they're going to react
Mhm.
or how like just do it and stop trying to figure out
Yep.
everything.
Yep. Yep. Just
That's
talk to
it.
him.
Just talk to them, and then it probably is not going to be as bad as you think it is because maybe
Mhm.
they needed to hear this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they needed to hear this. So
Mhm.
we're going to have you back, right?
Perfect. I like that.
I so enjoyed you. So before we wrap up today, can you give our audience a final word or something you want to close out with?
Oh, well, I just want to thank them for being such good listeners and also to offer that I do a 30-minute consultation with folks for free. And they can find me through my website. I am really passionate about that mission of connecting people with each other and not letting them be so separate.
I know, and so I make. If you look on the bottom of the screen, ladies and gentlemen, you will see Miss Scott information scrolling on the bottom there. So it's Seattle Conflict Resolution.com. So if you
Thank
reach
you.
her website, she'll be able to give you that free consultation, like you said, for 30 minutes. It's free.
Hmm.
And hey, if you got a good match, then there you go. You could go ahead and work with her and she'll be able to help you. If you just listen to the conversation today, she helped me just in this little time to realize how to do an opening when you deal with conflict. So imagine if you work with her, she will be amazing. So we want to go ahead and get that going. So as you see at the bottom of the screen, please contact her, go on her website, see all the nice products and services that she offers, and I don't think you'll regret it. So, once again, thank you so much for coming on our show today. You have been an amazing guest. I really enjoyed you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and as I always say, my Let's Talk family, I love you. God bless and have a great, great day. Bye bye.